speaker of this session. First of all, Professor Dilip Chavan sir. Uh, it's a great honor to introduce to the speaker of second session, Professor Dilip Chavan sir. He is a distinguished academic figure with expertise in the field of social linguistics, currently serving as a professor in the Department of English, SRTM University, Nanded. His academic journey is marked by profound dedication to teaching, research, holding an array of qualifications including an MA, SET, PGDT, and PhD. Professor Sawan has accumulated over 3 decades of teaching experience, spanning both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. His scholarly pursuits have led him to dwell into diverse areas such as literary theory, cultural studies, and linguistics, with a primary focus on social linguistics. Professor Chauhan's academic journey reflects a commitment to rural education, having transitioned from urban centers like Pune and Mumbai to contribute to educational initiatives in rural areas. He has authored numerous publications, including a significant thesis titled Language Politics Under Colonialism, Caste, Class and Language Pedagogy in Western India, which was later revised and published by Cambridge Scholars Publishing. His scholarly contributions extend beyond academia, as evidenced by his active engagement as a resource person in various national and international conferences, guest lectures, and chairing sessions. Professor Chauhan's administrative roles within academia further underscore his leadership and organizational acumen, having served in capacities such as head of the Department of English and director of the School of Language and Literature, Culture Studies. Moreover, his association with esteemed organizations like the UGC, IUC, IIAS, Shimla exemplifies his standing within the academic community with a wealth of experience, scholarly achievements, and a steadfast commitment to education. Professor Dilip Vasantrao Chavan epitomizes academic excellence and scholarly dedication in the realm of language and literature studies. And today he is going to speak on the role of social linguistics in multidisciplinary studies. Second introduction of the chair of this second session, Dr. Santosh Koti sir. Dr. Santosh Koti sir is a distinguished academician hailing from Solapur, brings a wealth of scholarly achievements and expertise to the forefront of academia. Graduating with distinction from Sangameshwar College, Solapur, Dr. Koti furthered his academic pursuit by obtaining a postgraduate degree in English from the esteemed Department of English at Shivaji University, Kolhapur, where he earned the prestigious gold medal presented by the Venerable Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. His scholarly journey continued with the successful qualification of SET NET, paving the way for a remarkable career in academia. Currently, he is serving as the principal at Walchand College of Arts and Science, Solapur. Dr. Koti remains actively involved in shaping the academic landscape as a member of the Senate and Management Council at Punyashlok Ahilyadevi Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur. Additionally, he serves as a secretary of Maharshi Vittal Ramji Shinde Pratishthan, Solapur, and contributes his expertise as a member of the assessment panel of NAC, Bangalore. Dr. Santosh Koti's multifaceted contributions to academia exemplify his unwavering dedication to scholarship and educational advancement. With this brief bionet of the key speaker of Professor Dr. Dilip Sawan sir and Dr. Santosh Koti sir, I want to hand over the chairs to Pooja ma'am. Welcome all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to request our distinguished speaker, Dr. Dilip Chavan sir, to share his valuable insights and expertise of this session.
Good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I am very much happy to be with you through this online mode. I welcome all the participants, Santosh Koti sir, and organizers. I suppose this is the second session of this day-long online seminar, and it is an interdisciplinary seminar. So perhaps there are many other events also simultaneously going on. I wanted to speak on how we should be doing social linguistics in India. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Uh, is Shinde sir?
Yes, sir. आवाज थोड़ा सा कट होता है सर.
Yeah, on the
अ, जरा नेटवर्क इश्यू असल्याचं जाणवतंय सर. थोडासा आवाज कट होतोय.
I have now switched over to another network.
ओके.
Hope there isn't any disturbance.
येस येस सर.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
येस सर.
Okay. Yeah. My presentation would be on how should we be doing social linguistics in the contemporary times. You all know that the government of India has already started implementing what is known as National Education Policy 2020, and almost all the courses at all the levels, right from say pre-primary to doctoral, there have been significant changes made in terms of structures of various courses as well as contents of various courses. So, given that the government is committed to implementing national education policy 2020, we certainly have to rework our own ideas of language, education, and pedagogy in general. By now, many of the teachers of English must have realized that compulsory English as a course will no longer be there. So we were all trained in learning English as part of our courses as a compulsory course, and now the structure has changed, and there is a fear expressed by the teachers of English that this course, which we were so used to and which was considered so significant a part of any degree course, would no longer be there. A couple of years ago, there was a professor of, I mean, there is a professor of English named Tasildar from Sangamner College, Sangamner. He had written an article in News last year. Before that, he had spoken with many teachers of English, and he had tried to inform his friends and colleagues in and around Savitribai Phule Pune University that that compulsory English would no longer be there. And initially, nobody really paid any notice to this fear expressed by Professor Tasildar. So finally, he took up to writing an article, and in a renowned, significant periodical called University News. If you are interested in reading it, I can send it to you. So please let me know. My simple plea is that what we were so used to in the past would no longer be there so far as English language teaching at an undergraduate level is concerned. So this certainly makes us, rework our own understanding of ELT, that is English language teaching, as well as ELE, that is English language education. So this kind of change in situation also calls for some kind of, say, reconsideration of some of the assumptions, some of the, we can say, presuppositions that our own understanding of language was based. So this made me think of a new topic called, reconsidering socio-linguistics in India and also reconsidering language teaching in India. So how are we going to say uh, rework our own older ideas? First of all, we need to understand that sociolinguistics is not just a discipline to be taught in the classroom. Of recent, it has emerged as a discipline which has great relevance to language teaching. There are now innumerable articles and books on sociolinguistics and language teaching. Some of you perhaps know that a discipline called applied linguistics emerged in America in the 1950s with a view of learning various languages from the world. So the American government wanted to really launch a new program which would ultimately strengthen their imperialist power. Their imperialism. We can call it American imperialism for that matter. So teaching language or learning language, both, I mean, they were part of the larger imperialistic network. So we know that the British were interested in teaching us English, but they were also interested in learning various Indian languages. So they started with Sanskrit, but soon after that, they also started learning many languages such as Bangla, Hindi, Marathi, Kannada, Malayalam, Telugu. So towards the end of the 18th century, William Jones and soon after that Max Muller. So these Indologists, they had acquired Sanskrit and they had started a new project called as translation project. So it was a sort of an initiative from the British side, and it certainly had certain political imperatives. Soon after that, the British government started investing in Indian language program, and so many grammars of various languages such as Marathi, for example, Malayalam, for example, Telugu, for example. So they were composed by the British administrative officers. So the first grammar, significant grammar, we can call it, of Marathi was composed by William Carey. So was the case with Telugu, which was composed by C.P. Brown. So many British officers were asked to study different Indian languages and write their grammars and also compile bilingual dictionaries. So the first significant dictionary, bilingual dictionary in Maharashtra was compiled by Molesworth, and this project was assisted by Thomas Candy. So my proposition is how we need to understand language in relation to political power. So language policies really do not exist in isolation, nor are they devoid of any kind of, say, politics or political intent. So we need to understand how politics plays a significant role in introducing and implementing language policies. Now, when it comes to NEP, this needs to be taken into consideration. For example, Almost 3 years have passed since the national education policy was introduced. I remember the day when the policy was announced, and the very following day, so many vice chancellors and various educationists started arguing say regional languages such as Telugu, Hindi also. So I was a little surprised because so far as history of education and history of medium of education in India is concerned, there are many surveys and reports published by the governmental and non-governmental agencies which tell us that the number of students learning through English as a medium of education is increasing over a last say few decades or so, or the last few years certainly. So there hasn't been any decline found, and the government never thought of really making major regional languages as the mediums of we can say education in India. So given that there are so many difficulties, even the legal difficulties are there, because when Kannada as a medium of education was made compulsory by the government of Kannada, this matter was taken to court, and finally the government of Karnataka had to lose the case, and the governments could no longer introduce Kannada as a medium of education. So this happened. This was a legal battle which was fought for around 3 decades, and finally the government had to lose. So while the policy was designed, there was no significant thought given to many aspects of introducing regional languages as media of communication, media of education in India, and this gave rise to some kind of confusion among the educationists and also parents and students. So if you look at the history of school education in India in the last 3 years, you will find that there were two trends, major trends, significant trends evident. One, as usual, the number of English medium schools was on rise. The number of students admitted to English medium schools also was on rise. This is evident in the reports. And two, the government schools, which were either one teacher schools or which had less than 30 students, were closed. So in Maharashtra alone, some thousands of schools were closed. The place I come from, Nanded, in Nanded district, some hundreds of schools which had either one or two teachers or less than 30 students were closed. So this policy is called as school closure policy, which was adopted by the government of Maharashtra. And these schools students uh, later on we learn from the government that they were absorbed in the nearby schools. While doing so, at some places there was another law which was violated, and that was the national that was the act passed by the government of India in the parliament, called as the Right to Education Act 2009. So according to this act, the government is committed to providing primary and secondary education to the children in India within a certain say distance, say 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers. So when you close a school, particularly the remote area, for example, Nanded, if you take Nanded district as a representative one, we have certain blocks such as Kinvat and Mahur, which are either first of all very far from Nanded. It takes 3 hours for us to travel to Kinvat by road, and secondly, in both the blocks, Kinvat and Mahur, there are schools which are very sparsely, distributed. So one school maybe say 5 or 6 or sometimes 10 kilometers away from another school. I'm talking about high school. So if a high school is closed, the students will have to travel much longer distance so as to be able to reach another school. So my plea to all of you is to understand how a certain state policy has a certain impact, maybe good or bad, that you can ascertain by undertaking a project, undertaking a study. But language policy and educational policy designed by the government certainly has an impact on the school going children as well as parents and the society by and large the society, we can say. So we need to relate whatever that we have acquired so far through the books on social linguistics or applied linguistics or language teaching. We need to apply this to the real life situation, to the concrete, life experiences around us in the contemporary times. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll
audible.
stop, I'll stop here for 2 minutes. If you have anything to contribute to, or maybe some question, if you have anything to ask, please feel free.
I would request audience of the conference, if you have any questions, you can ask Dr. Chavan sir.
Sir, is it not come to notice to the government that implementation of a NEP should be from the first standard to the preliminary education, then to the higher education? It came to notice that government forcefully implemented it to the higher education, and all the chaos we are facing today uh, is what is the result of the implementation of NEP. What do you think about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the government introduces educational policies sometimes partly. For example, there were certain commissions which were dedicated to only higher education. So the first education commission was called as University Education Commission, 1948, which was meant only for higher education. But unlike that, this is a comprehensive educational, we can say, policy which was designed 34 years after the last policy. And it was in the year 1968 that the Kothari Commission report was used for designing a comprehensive education policy. So the government of India has already declared that this is a comprehensive educational policy. So it will cover what is called as early childhood care and education. So right from pre-primary to doctoral. So it covers almost 20 to 22 years of the life of a young person. So, of course, this is a very ambitious project and will certainly create a lot of confusion, a lot of threats also. For example, the loss of compulsory English is going to create a havoc, as I understand. So I learnt English as part of my BA as a compulsory course, which no longer would be there, and it will be replaced by some kind of, say, optional course, or maybe some second language, first language kind of, say, courses. I don't know, but this certainly will trivialize what is called as English language teaching in the days to come. And this also will lead to some kind of contractualization or privatization of language teaching in future. So yeah, you are right. I mean, making such a huge change, right from, say, early childhood care, I mean pre-primary to doctoral, would certainly create a lot of chaos, a lot of, say confusion. I think we need to be more careful, and we need to be more, say, vocal if at all we have to face the challenges. You are right. You are right.
Sir, I want to ask you one question.
Sorry.
Hello? Yes, I want to ask you one question.
Yes.
Um, so you make us aware about that state policy or education policy affect uh, school children or parents or society. Society. So being the professors, what is our role in such a chaotic situation?
Yeah, first of all, we need to read this policy very carefully. Something that which we don't do. I had to read this policy soon after it was made public. That was, I remember 29th of July 2020. That was the day when the policy was announced, and the very next day I had to read it. And since then, I have made several readings of this text. So my first request to all of you is to read this policy very carefully. Secondly, you being professors of English and maybe some other languages, you should know how to read a policy. So reading a policy also calls for some kind of self training. So you need to train yourself so as to you read what we usually teach our students, reading in between the lines. So we read poems not in the literal sense, but we always try to look for some kind of meaning that has remained hidden or that is not so easily accessible. So, how do we read, say, a certain policy also carries significance because we should be able to read it very carefully and critically. Otherwise, you will be taken away by the very attractive jargon used in any policy as such. So you should be able to read in between the lines and also behind the lines. So there is a lot remains what you can say undiscovered. So you should be able to understand that. Can we do that? I mean, are we committed to reading this policy? It runs into just 64 pages. How many of you did bother reading this policy? Whereas everybody is afraid of so many things, but do we read and are we really able to make any significant commentary on the policy as such?
Yes, sir. To some extent, our college has taken an initiative. Means our
Yeah,
English department has written some mails to uh, BOS of Shivaji University Kolhapur. But it
nice.
is, means we are informed that it is forcefully NEP will be implemented.
Yeah, NEP has caused tremendous centralization of processes such as structures were centrally designed, then certain components of syllabi were also handed down to university graduate students. So this will certainly make a significant shift in the field of higher education, something which was called as, say, decentralization and what used to be called as autonomy of university as such. So it is found that all over the world, this autonomy is under threat. So I would like to bring your attention to two of the articles which are significant. One was written by a Nobel Prize winning French author named Coetzee. So I will read this article. I don't recollect the title. And another one was by an Indian scholar named Urvashi. So uh, these are two articles which I think very much relevant to this discourse. Both of them talk about how university autonomy is being eroded all over the world. Coetzee talks about of some international scenario of how universities are losing, and this Urvashi talks about the case of India where universities are losing fast. So, a university which until recently was a fully autonomous entity, for example, the Board of Studies of Shivaji University used to decide upon the syllabus. It was fully empowered to take the decision, and the board was fully autonomous. Now, what happened after 2016? There were so many members of the boards of studies which were either uh, somehow were nominated by various persons, various authorities, and then after the introduction of NEP, we came to know that this board is no longer an autonomous board because a lot is going to be decided by the University Grants Commission. So certainly, yeah. I mean, if you write an email to the Board of Studies in English of Shivaji University, I don't think that board is really empowered uh, to act in its own capacity and respond to you the way you expect it to be.
Thank you, sir. One more question I want to ask you, sir. Can I have permission? Can you ask? Can I ask you one more question?
Hello.
Hello. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, but did you reply to
Yes. Hello. Hello.
So your voice is cracking. Yeah, no.
Yes. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, please continue.
Yes. You make a statement that American imperialism means. I want to ask you about that. That language can be used as a medium of demo from autocracy. Yes. India is turning to autocracy through the medium of language or through NEP.
Yeah, it would be too early to call India an autocratic nation as such. Now we are going to face general elections soon. So, in that sense, India is a democratic nation. But I was trying to tell you that social linguistics was an initiative from England and applied linguistics from America. And the government of America wanted to dominate the world, particularly after the Second World War. And one way of dominating the world was to know the languages, dominant languages of the world, such as Marathi, Hindi, Telugu, and Japanese, Chinese, and hundreds of other languages. So, how should we be learning the languages, dominant languages of the world? So, this kind of a need gave rise to a new discipline called applied linguistics. Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So applied linguistics was an initiative from America with certain political motives. If you are interested more in that, you can read a book called
Okay.
Linguistic Imperialism by Robert Phillipson.
Okay, sir.
Robert Phillipson, linguistic imperialism. So that will help you understand how what we study or what we teach in the classroom so naively had its roots in some political say field.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
There can be, sir, like we have new trends in language and literature, that is cultural studies, then the gender studies, uh, or we can call it, or these subjects can be merged as or business communication. We are teaching the business communication to the BCom students, but now it can be merged in the ability enhancement courses, and the things are changed, but some of the complementary things are there that can be merged in these baskets, like the Indian knowledge system and ability enhancement courses. Is it possible, or is it in the that way?
Yeah, I mean they are going to change certainly. My only concern uh, is this going to lead us to some kind of trivialization of language teaching, something which was so very well articulated, structured, and introduced through certain policy in the colleges and universities.
Yes, yes.
That is my just a sort of say open question for all of you to ponder upon. And you need to engage with that. I would all request you to read Tahsildar's essay on this death of compulsory English, published in University News last year. Shall we
Thank you, sir.
go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your
Yeah.
valuable insight on this session. Now, I would like to request Dr. Santosh Koti, sir, to give us valuable insight in this session.
No, I haven't finished, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Yes,
Sorry.
sir.
No, this was
I'm.
just a this was just a break. I wanted the participants to reflect upon two points which I had raised.
Yes.
Yeah, shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, for
Yes, sir.
I think I will require another 15 minutes to finish this topic.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Shall
sir.
I take 15 minutes or stop here?
No, 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 sir. You can continue, sir. You can take your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My another point which I would like to draw your attention to is whether India is losing its linguistic heritage. Something which again is a concern expressed in the national education policy, but there is no significant outcome or kind of say real commitment seen in the last 3 years or so. For example, it was written in the national education policy that mother tongue would be used as a medium of education up to the 8th standard. I hope everybody knows this. Do you know this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, many of you know this, but there after this, and these words are uh, wherever possible, just two words, wherever possible. So, mother tongue would be used as a medium of education up to the 8th standard, and then it is said wherever possible. Now, these two words certainly defeat the very spirit promised in the earlier sentence. Now, what do we mean by wherever possible? That again is, a very vague, very abstract kind of expression, and it certainly saves the government from really committing truthfully to using Indian languages as media of education at least at a higher at a high school level. How does, say, for example, the government of Maharashtra and the government of India interpret these two words wherever possible? What does it mean? I have tried to ask this question to many educationists and tried to think on this for quite a long time, but I haven't been really able to understand what exactly is suggested by using these words. So if the parents, really insist on, for example, English as a medium of education, the government will certainly declare that, yeah, you can go ahead because Marathi is no longer a demand from the parents. So the parents don't demand for using Marathi as a medium of education. And if there are some other Marathi, lovers of Marathi language, if at all they go to court and plead their case, the government perhaps would be safe by saying that we are committed to giving education through mother tongue only where it is possible. So if it is not possible, we are not committed to use Marathi or Telugu or Tamil or Hindi as a medium of education as such. So when you read a policy, first of all, we need to know how to read a policy. one has to read a policy very carefully. When it was announced on the 29th of July 2020, so many vice chancellors and heads of the departments of Marathi and so many creative writers, they expressed a great joy, over this government policy on introducing Marathi, for example, as a medium of education at a school level. So they thought that this English medium school should be closed, and this certainly would lead the government to introduce Marathi as a sole medium of education, and this certainly will save Marathi from its extinction. So I was a little, confused as to how could the government be so radical in really using mother tongues as medium of education. So I went on reading the policy very carefully, and then ultimately I came to know that these two words, wherever possible, will really help the government escape from whatever that it had committed in the earlier part of that paragraph. So what do you think? What do you think? Do you think that the government is really committed to using Indian languages as medium?
The approach has given by the government itself is not understood, or we cannot be interpreted rightly as per I think so.
See, India is a country having 400 languages and around 3,000 dialects. So this multilingual and multi-dialectal nature of India is one of the significant characteristics of India being multilingual, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious country spread over different parts of South Asia, having its own tradition of cultural and linguistic diversity. Now, the point is, many of the languages which were already under threat have died down in India. I come from a small town in Vidarbha, and there was a community which used to speak Nihari language. Nihari is a language now spoken by a very few people, and they are all scattered. They belong to a tribal community, and some of them are in Madhya Pradesh, and only a few, less than 100, left in one small part of Vidarbha. So this is one language which certainly is going to die. It is certain that it will die. You can see the death of this language taking place slowly. So maybe after 10 or 20 years, this language will no longer be there. So if at all, you know, we have to make these languages survive, some hundreds of languages which are now under threat. There is a list already made by the UNESCO, list of languages which are under threat in the world, and there are so many languages from India, hundreds of languages. So it's very clear that these are the languages which are under threat and they are going to die. So if at all we have to somehow retain this these endangered languages, if we have to make these languages sustain the attack of globalization and whatever socio-cultural attack, how are we going to do that? My first proposition here is, we being the teachers of language or English as such, we need to rethink many of the assumptions in socio-linguistics. Many of the, say, ideas such as history of language, language standardization, language politics, medium of education, and perhaps ELE, language, English language education. So we need to reconsider many notions because of the changing socio-political, say, conditions in India, situations in India. For example, it is mentioned in the national education policy that Sanskrit is going to be a reservoir which will be used as a great resource for developing Indian languages. So something which certainly needs some critical attention. So how are we going to look at this kind of a strategy of using one language as a resource for developing or strengthening many other Indian languages? So NEP very much insists on using Sanskrit. So how do we relate Sanskrit to the idea of purity? And how do we consider the idea of language purity so far as Marathi is concerned? Do we support the idea of purity? That is something which really requires your own views, your own critical engagement with the idea of language purism. It's called Bhasha Shuddhivad in Marathi. So how do you think, how do you reflect upon these challenges? Something that certainly would have some kind of impact on language policy.
Right, sir.
So I stop here. A lot of issues are there, but I just wanted to draw your attention to some of the immediate questions, challenges that are lingering upon Indian higher education system so far as language policy is concerned. I think it requires critical attention and engagement. There is no solution readily available with me as such, but your own engagement with the issue will certainly lead you to some kind of better picture and better solution.
Right, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Dr. Santosh Koti sir to give us valuable insight in the session.
Hello,
Yes,
am I
sir.
audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Thank you, Dr. Chavan, for an excellent presentation related to the particular topic, reconsidering social linguistics and language teaching in India. Uh, Honorable Dr. Babar sir, Honorable Principal of the college, Dr. Patil sir, faculty members from the department, and dear participants. Actually, when we speak about NAP and what will be the future of language, especially English and Indian native languages also, because in NAP it has been clearly mentioned that their mother tongue will be the medium of instructions. But as Dr. Chavan has already said, two words, important words are there wherever possible. And these two words literally remove or deteriorate the spirit of the earlier part of the sentence. Now, see, even today, when we think of Indian languages, what kind of importance do we find here? There was a boom some 20 or 30 years ago also, that every parent, or even today also we can see, that every parent wants to send his or her child to English medium school. Somewhere with this NEP 2020, we can at least say that the importance of mother tongue has been identified. Compulsory English was the core of the syllabus, or we can say you were not able to get the degree or even qualify the 10th examination if the child fails the 10th standard examination in the particular subject English. Now see, in Africa, this movement had already started. It was in approximately 80s. That what is the importance of English in education? Somewhere we have come to this in some 2020. Now, and when a child gets admission into a particular school where the language is different from the language which he or she uses at home, the total atmosphere, linguistic atmosphere, is different. And there is a difficulty for the child to understand the concepts. And in NEP, it has been made clear that the understanding of the concepts is easier or more clear in the mother tongue only. And that is why up to standard 8, the medium of instruction will be the mother tongue. Now, it has not been implemented yet. As the question has been asked by, I think it was from Mr. Shinde, that NEP has not been implemented with, say, proper force or level from primary to higher education. Now, the government has asked autonomous colleges to implement NEP. My college is autonomous college, so we have implemented NEP from this particular academic year, 2023. And from the academic year 24-25, it will be implemented in all other affiliated colleges. Now, see what happened here. By implementing this particular policy, especially I'll speak about my college, my students of arts faculty, now they are able to get or opt for a subject of science faculty. For example, arts faculty subject can opt for chemistry, microbiology, physics, geology, botany, zoology. We have given them options. Now here comes the question of language. How can a student of arts faculty, or is it easier for that students to learn the subject using English language? So we had to provide them option. We have given them option of Marathi language. Medium of instruction for these subjects is Marathi. We have conducted one examination, first semester examination. Now second semester examination is on the verge. But these students are doing excellent because the medium of instruction is Marathi. The language which they are using at home, the language which they are using at the surrounding, the same language is being used at the classroom. So understanding the concepts is much easier than earlier. Depth of compulsory English, as Dr. Chavan had said, this particular essay of Dr. Tashildar, who happens to be my teacher. I have gone through this particular paper of Dr. Tashildar. In this connection, here I would like to say that compulsory English is completely outdated now in NEP. But here it has come as AEC, Ability Enhancement Course. We had to introduce it because we have to enhance the ability of the students, especially of using a language, speaking a language. So the part that was there previously in the syllabus of compulsory English, somewhere we have to modify it and bring it into the particular course of 2 credits. Here we have done it. The question, obviously it is there, what will happen to the workload? So it has to be seen by the college or managed by the college that this particular workload should be maintained. Papers and courses need to be introduced in such a way that the workload of your department should be maintained. This has to be done, or we have to manage it. See, at 2 levels, we have to implement this NAP. One, you have to see how the students will be benefited, how their skills will be enhanced, and at the same time, the present staff that are working in the college for a particular subject, how the staff will be protected. So, a kind of exercise, okay, ज्याला एक प्रकारचं balance म्हणा, or otherwise you can say, see, somewhere while doing this particular exercise, we thought that we are doing some injustice to students also, because somewhere we have to make a particular paper compulsory for the student, because if we do not do that, the workload will be reduced and it will be injustice to the teacher. And if we make it compulsory, that will be injustice to the student. So on both the part, we have to think. But social linguistics and language teaching in India, this language teaching is not related to English only. It is related to native languages in India also. We have to increase the capacity of the students and the ability of the students also. The subject IKS has also been introduced. Now, few students came to me saying that, sir, in IKS you have introduced this particular element. We know it, we understand it very well, but we cannot write in English. Now, see, this particular paper has been introduced as IKS for English. Now, those students who opt this particular IKS, they have to answer in English only. They cannot change the language because the subject is English. Now, they know the course content properly. They said that we have learnt it from childhood itself. There are few stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata which provide specific Indian knowledge. Now, the students say that, sir, we know it very well. But for us, the difficulty is we have to write the paper in English. These kind of problems need to be handled properly. When we introduce IKS from Ayurveda, from sports, from other fields, from Indian science also, if we introduce these, it is very common. Or even sometimes in IKS we can introduce the elements like Ajivaisa Batwa. It's very common. So home remedies. Okay? Now the children, the students know it very well. But the problem is problem of language. Here we have to give them certain options that how they can express themselves using the particular language. Okay? So here I conclude my remarks. The presentation was excellent. I thank the organizers that they have given me the opportunity to speak on, chair the session and express my views on the topic. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Chavan, and thank you, organizers.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Sujata Soge ma'am to give her vote of thanks for this session.
First of all, I am very thankful to our esteemed speaker of this session, Professor Dr. Dilip Chavan sir, for his valuable insights into linguistic imperialism, American imperialism, school closure policy, certain educational policies which has impacted society, children and parents, then death of a compulsory English, and how India is losing its heritage, and his last concept of language periodism, which guided us a lot. And really, sir, we enjoyed the session. Thank you very much for your valuable guidance. Then I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Santosh Koti, sir, for playing the role of a chairperson for this session and sharing with us what are the positive sides of NEP while implementing at Walchand College, Solapur. Thank you very much, sir. I also express my thanks to our all the delegates and attendants and technical staff who are handling this session carefully. Thank you, one and all.